Hey guys, if you're shopping for knives and gear, make sure you check out the description of the video you're watching right now for links to some great online retailers. There's also individual links for knives that I personally recommend. Thanks!
What's going on YouTube? Metal Complex here, and today I've got another interesting knife review. More of an overview and discussion actually on this guy because I've already reviewed the Gerber Fastball. This is just an interesting variant in the Cleaver Blade shape and the G10. Now, if you want my full thoughts on the Fastball, I understand this is different blade shape we're going to talk about. If you want my full thoughts on the Fastball, you can check out that review. Just type in Metal Complex Gerber Fastball and it should pull it up. But this has enough different that it kind of got my brain working. It kind of got me thinking about this. And it's something I wanted to share with everybody. So we're gonna do a couple of traditional things here, like measurements and size comparisons, and then I'm gonna move on into the differences between this one and the original Fastball, and some other interesting things about the Fastball currently, and then my thoughts on what needs to be improved, because we've actually taken a step forward, in my opinion, here with this guy. Thanks so much to my generous patrons for supporting me right now. If you'd like to check out my Patreon, there's of course a link right down in the description. Your support would mean the world to me. And please follow me on Instagram, at metal_complex. Okay, let's go ahead and get a measurement here real quick for anybody who doesn't know. Gerber Fastball is coming in at about 7.4 inches, 7.3 inches overall. Blade length coming in at just shy of 3 1/4. And your cutting edge is actually only about 2.75 inches on this guy. This particular one had an edge that was slightly redone by the person who owns it, and that's okay. I still want to talk about it. Taking a look at the edge on the other Fastball I had, the factory edge is fine. It's nothing. It's not spectacular, but it's just fine, I think, for the price range. This knife is available right now. You can pick this up. Not this exact version, I think. You'll have to check and see, but there are Gerber Fastballs available in the Cleaver Blade shape and in the standard blade shape. And actually, there's also a Gerber Fastball in 20 CV in aluminum. Made in the USA, by the way. Made in the USA. The Cleaver in 20 CV in aluminum for $109. That's something I want you guys to keep in mind there, because that's a pretty spectacular price for 20 CV and US manufacturing. So anyways, let's go ahead and do some quick size comparisons here up against the Ontario Rat. My goodness, there it is. The Ontario Rat Model 1. Take a look at these two side by side. So this is not a large knife, but it's not a small knife. It kind of comes in medium territory. How about up against the Benchmade Griptilian, or in this case the Ritter Hogue, and its little brother, the Benchmade Mini Griptilian. There we go. Kind of did these out of order today. Now we'll do, last but not least, we will do the Spyderco PM2 and its little brother, the Para 3. So Gerber Fastball coming in pretty close to the same overall length as the Spyderco Para 3. Outside of that, if you want all the other information I generally do, you can check out the older review, because it's largely the same other than the blade shape. Action on this guy is nice. This is an improvement over the original Fastball that I handled. I don't know if there's actually something different. Maybe I just got one with a lighter detent, but the Fastball from the first video had a detent that was just too heavy. This detent, oh, it's just fine. It's perfect. I don't have an issue with that at all. It's nice and clicky, feels good, right? So it looks like maybe they've kind of dialed it back a little bit on that. That's nice. Something I pointed out here. First off, I love the G10 on this guy. Not just the color, but the G10, the Jade is something people either love or they hate. Honestly, I'm a fan of the Jade or the Ghost or the Natural, whatever you want to call it. I like this. It's got a nice light texturing on it. It looks good. I prefer this over the aluminum variants. But, okay, the aluminum variants are there. Here's something that is still kind of an issue. You can see this is from the manufacturing, basically on a manufacturing level. This liner that's under here has these ugly marks all over it. And I remember listening to, I can't remember what I was listening to, what podcast, where Nick Shabazz interviewed a representative of Gerber, and they talked about this. You can see it's also, this isn't from use, this is on a manufacturing level. It just comes out of the gate. He explained kind of why it's like that. Now, we're going to talk about the Cleaver Blade shape, I promise, but if you can get these in 20 CV, right, in the Cleaver Blade in aluminum for $109, what I'm about to suggest is probably going to add cost to it, but honestly, I think it would be worth it. Here's the thing. If they can't get around this, I mean, yeah, it'd be great. It's just like, just improve that so it's not there. But truthfully, a lot of designs like this in this price range, I mean, what we're seeing is the entire liner is just countersunk into the scale. It's not going to reduce that much weight, but it hides all of this, and then you don't have this weird... I think it's a little bit weird that we have a liner on one side, nothing on the other. Honestly, I'll pay a little bit more money if they would just mill out a zone for the, and maybe that creates an issue inside of the pivot. I mean, there's plenty of further complications with that than just, oh, it costs a little bit more money from a manufacturing standpoint, but it does hide that ugliness. It sinks the whole thing into the scale. Then you get evenness on the aesthetics, right? And it'll still work. We see a lot of designs like that, right? I think that would solve a major part of the issue, because I just don't like how that looks. It really just looks bad that we have these ugly I mean, honestly, the marks are found nowhere else on the knife. I mean, everything else honestly looks pretty good, and the detent's lightened up, you know, so it makes me happy. I got really excited when I saw you could get a 20 CV fastball for $109, but that steel liner and those ugly marks on it are still going to be present on the aluminum one. But the other reason I like G10 is I think if there are machining imperfections, they're much less visibly present on G10 than they are on aluminum. Messed up aluminum, like for example the Gerber, oh my gosh, the flat iron. My flat iron that I got, holy moly, that was the ugliest aluminum I've ever seen. If you have manufacturing imperfections on aluminum, right, it's kind of like, I guess it's kind of like electric versus acoustic guitar. You know, on an acoustic guitar, if you mess up, you're going to hear it. On an electric guitar, you know, a lot of times the distortion will cover a little bit of your imperfect finger work. As somebody who has attempted to play the guitar multiple times in his life and has found that, hey, the electric one kind of covers up my crappy guitar playing, right? I'm not saying cut corners. I'm saying the G10 just looks better, right? I mean, we're talking about the $100 to $120 price range, right? I don't necessarily expect absolute perfection in that price range, right? If we're talking about U.S. Spyderco knives, that the $120, $130 mark, right around there, is everything absolutely perfect? No, but it's you know, passable, and I really like the Spyderco knives. I'm getting rambly here, but I think G10 is a better choice for this. It looks good. I can't find any odd, you know, goofy flaws or anything, you know, with the G10, and maybe it's just because it's easier to work with than aluminum. I don't know. Just speaking off what I've seen. If that liner could be countersunk, then you don't have to worry about what the edges look like because they're hidden inside of the G10, right? It's just something we don't have. It just would make me feel better about the money I'm spending on this. The rest of this honestly looks great. I can't really comment on the edge because this isn't a factory edge, but the blade does look good. We have this sort of dark stone wash going on, and we're seeing some discoloration because this knife has been used, right? You can see in here we've got a little bit of gunk. This knife has been carried and used, right? So I'm not going to comment too much on that, and based on my experience with the other fastball, I thought that was pretty good too. Gerber logo, I don't mind that. Over here, we do have kind of a paragraph, made in the USA, Portland, Oregon. This one's in S30V, which is fine, but I think a lot of people are going to go for the 20 CV at the price point this comes in at. So, blade shape, I've always liked this blade shape. I like how it looks. You don't get much of a tip, but you also don't have to worry about snapping the tip because it's just not going to happen. I mean, unless you're doing something really stupid with it, right? If somebody were to be like, the Gerber fastball is terrible, the Cleaver fastball is terrible, I snapped the tip on it, in no way would I take that and go, wow, the quality of the fastball must not be that great. I'd be like, what were you doing with it where you snapped the tip, right? So, anyways, the Cleaver blade shape is great. You're not going to get a tip, but it's also going to be plenty durable. And you can still push the tip in a package and stuff like that. The whole, you know, being able to do your draw cuts. There's a little bit of belly here, so it's not a perfectly straight edge. You can see there's slight curvature there, so you're going to have some, you know, ability to slice a little easier than a totally straight edge. This is fully flat ground. It doesn't become an absolute laser beam at the edge, and that's probably why The person who sent this in, it changed up the edge just a little bit. It's not overly thick on the spine. In fact, it's not thick at all. I want to say it's probably 105 to 110 thousandths on the spine. So let's see if we can get an accurate measurement here real quick. And not even that. Plenty thin on the spine. So yeah, this is going to be a performer. Obviously, they've offered this in different blade shapes, though. So, if you like the more drop pointy blade and you want a tip, then great. If you don't care about the tip and you like these cleaver blades, then I think this is a good choice. The way that it sits, because this is a different blade shape, it's going to create a slightly different carry profile. It's really not all that tall. I mean, we'll go ahead and do what I normally do is put it up against a PM2 and Para 3. You can see there at maximum height, it's still not as tall as the maximum height on the Para 3 or PM2. And, coming from somebody who regularly carries the Para 3, I can say that even that height isn't something that bothers me. So, yeah, that's fine. Flipper tab is all, it originally was a pretty good shape, but just with the lightening up of the D10, I think we're in a better position here. And this knife, even having been used, is locking up solid. I'm not having an issue with any of that, so that's good. You do, of course, still have the clip position mountable for right or left-handed carry, even though this is a right-handed liner lock. The clip is pretty good. I really don't have a problem with it. And then your hardware, I think we're looking at, I normally do a hardware check. You can check out my tools in the description if you want. T6, and then the pivot looks like a T8. I'm going to go ahead and check it because it's pretty small, but I'm fairly certain that's going to be a T8. T8. Yeah, that's I didn't show it, but darn it. Make sure that you guys know, because people are always like, you didn't show it. There it is, sunk all the way in there. That's a T8. So that's fine. So is it worth picking up one of these in 20 CV? Honestly, I mean, this is going to be a quick review. I like the look of this. I actually like the look of the Cleaver version of this better than the standard fastball. I think this is just a better look all the way around. You have to like the Cleaver blades, though. But ergos are good. I mean, yeah, would I take this out and use it? Absolutely. But we're getting up to that point where they're really offering something pretty amazing, considering it is made in the U.S. Excuse me. I resisted a hiccup in the middle of that dialogue. They are offering something that is made in the USA and is sporting CPM 20 CV steel with good flipping action and a good blade for $110. That's cool. I know that this one is G10 and 20 CV, right? But yeah, the other form that this takes that I'm seeing, that's pretty cool. I honestly, can I recommend this in the way that it is? Yeah, but let me describe the ideal version of this knife, right? Either the drop point blade or the cleaver blade, take your preference. It's nice that they have different options for people. Like, there's no sense in complaining about a cleaver blade if you have an option to get a drop point blade. Just don't buy the cleaver one and buy the drop point one, right? Or vice versa. Don't complain about the drop point blade just because it exists if you would prefer the cleaver blade. Just buy the one that you like. It's nice that they've got that. Two options, maybe a third, right? Maybe do a different, one more blade shape, doesn't necessarily have to be. I like that we're looking at, we've got a more satiny kind of finish, or maybe they did a bead blasting and then they've got this dark tumble. That's nice, right? G10. Go with G10 and different colors of G10. Blue, green, red, jade, right? Whatever. Black. That's a good idea. Countersink that liner lock, so that if this is something that is unavoidable, and I don't work for Gerber, I'm not going to pretend to understand exactly what the materials go through on a manufacturing level. That's the one thing that's sticking out. Solve the problem. I mean, again, I'm sure there's a lot more involved with this on a manufacturing level than just carving out an area on the scale and moving it over. But we would get a better aesthetic. We wouldn't have this lopsided look where we've got a liner on one side, right? And I think it's because of how the bearings run. I mean, you could still have that cover. I mean, like the way that the pivot looks on this guy is because the bearings run on race on the inside of the pivot. I think that's the reason for that. But on this side, they're just running on the liner. So it could still run on the liner, right? It just would reduce the thickness by exactly the thickness of the liner, and then it would be part of the inside of the G10 scale, and then you wouldn't have to, if this ugliness has to be there on the scale lip, then it's covered by the G10 scale completely. outside of that, I think it's solid. Then I mean, at that point, let's say it adds $15 to the price, up from $109, right? So we're looking at $125 for G10, good symmetry on the scales, 20 CV and US manufacturing with, at this point, from what I'm experiencing, a good flipping action. A good blade, too. Good ergonomics and a good clip position, a good clip all the way around. Absolutely. Absolutely, right? Maybe it even would cost less than that. I don't know. Maybe it would cost more. I don't know. I'm just guessing. But it would take a solid B+ of a knife into an absolute home run, right? Baseball puns intended here. That's my thoughts. Those are my thoughts on this, honestly. And, again, I'm coming at this from a lack of understanding about exactly what this goes through from a manufacturing standpoint and what would be changed about the knife if they did do that, what difficulties they might see if they, were to do that. But I just like this version a lot better. I can recommend this knife in the form that it takes currently, so please check this knife out down below. I don't know if this exact version is going to be available, but I know that at the time of this recording, you could get the 20 CV in aluminum Cleaver Fastball for $109 at base, and I think there was a more expensive version for whatever reason, I don't know. But yeah, it's pretty impressive they're getting there. I'm happy to see Gerber making small steps towards what we expect in 2021, in this tier of the knife world. I think that's great. And then if they build a whole product line around, this and basically the better quality we're seeing from this, then yeah, I could see, this part of the knife community really paying a lot more attention to Gerber, which I think is great. The enthusiast crowd, right? The enthusiast / user crowd. I think that'd be excellent. So, I don't know, this was an oddball review, because we've got just a variant of a knife that I've already looked at, but after messing around with this and looking at it some more, I realized, this just makes more sense, I personally prefer G10 over aluminum, right? I mean, if we're talking about Microtex aluminum, that's different. They do a much better job. But if we're talking about, on this level, it's going to kind of have to be kind of a simple look, right? I'm just going to prefer the G10 look over the aluminum look that Gerber's dishing out. So I think that's probably a better way to go. These are all just my opinions. You're not meant to take this as factual, right? I'm sure plenty of arguments could be made against my thoughts as per usual. Yeah, that's what I'm feeling with this guy. Still recommendable. Check this knife out. Check out what else Gerber has going on. I'll make sure and link Gerber knives in general down below so you guys can take a look. In any case, that's going to be pretty much it today. Please make sure to follow me on Instagram at metal_complex. If you enjoyed this video, please leave a like. If you'd like to check out my other content, I do, of course, have lots of videos of knives that are either expensive or inexpensive that I do or don't like, so check those out. And if you enjoy all my content, go ahead and click on that Metal Complex logo right there and subscribe, because there's definitely more coming. Thanks again for watching, everybody, and have a great day.